being strong and powerful within yourself and not caring what anybody else thinks, because that's a decision you made, because you were strong enough to make that decision for yourself regardless of what anybody else thinks. So if I go outside wearing a crop top and some hoochie shorts and Crocs, then I'm strong enough to make that decision for myself regardless of what society thinks. And I don't want anybody to be like me. I just want everybody to be more of themselves.
You are now tuned in to the Misfits table.
I feel like nowadays people try to put it in such a box. Like, would you describe it as more of like a free form kind of abstract idea, or something that's just like, oh, this is a definition of like masculinity?
I think masculinity is as what they're defining it as, is just the way it's packaged and presented isn't what it's supposed to be. So it's like masculinity is supposed to be powerful, it's supposed to be strength, it's supposed to be, having the will and desire and the ambition to overcome and all of these things. It sounds like masculinity to you, right? But then these niggas be mean to women. Like, how does you're mean to women and then you're demeaning women at the same time? So you're basically being mean and bullying somebody that you feel is weaker than you. That's not powerful at all.
Mm.
See? See what I'm saying? Like the way you think of like masculinity and femininity, when you think of like how they speak, like feminine words are used, is always in a way of like soft or weak. And then masculine is strength and powerful and stuff like that. It's like that's not how these things work. They're both like two different balances, two different weights that's supposed to balance each other out. So the way I view masculinity is the way it's supposed to be. But how can you be strong and overcome anything if you don't ever feel weak at one point? The point of overcoming is to be honest with the parts of you that you're weak at, and then having the strength to build on that and grow on that and overcome on different things, or become stronger. But the strength is only viewed because you have to have weakness first. And so if you're sitting here talking about like, oh, I'm masculine, but you're always trying to put yourself in a position of like strength, always in a put yourself in a position of comfort, like how masculine are you if you're not strong enough to overcome anything? That's why when niggas get punched in the face, then
Mm.
it's like a surprise, and then the bitch comes out
Yeah.
of them, because it's like you're always on this. You always put yourself on this pedestal of strength, but when you come across a nigga that's really been through some shit, and then that's nigga that punched you in the face, because like, oh, I know what it feels like to get punched in the face. Like that's just a metaphor of like what masculinity actually is. Actually, being strong and powerful within yourself and not caring what anybody else thinks, because that's a decision you made, because you were strong enough to make that decision for yourself regardless of what anybody else thinks. So if I go outside wearing a fucking crop top and some hoochie shorts and Crocs, then I'm strong enough to make that decision for myself regardless of what society thinks. And I don't want anybody to be like me. I just want everybody to be more of themselves.
I like to call that just being human. A lot of people forget how to be human. They
And
try to be whatever the internet media tells them to be, whatever they hear from whoever they hear, their neighbor, through the grapevine, whatever, and they forget how to be human.
that's really all it is. Because
Mm.
and then you put masculinity in this box of like, oh, only men could be masculine, only men can have like this type of strength and stuff like that. But it's really just being human. Masculine and
Mhm.
feminine, we all have it. But when you like limit it to only being one thing, only being like for one gender or anything like that, then you take away the pure essence of what it actually is. And what it actually is something that we all have. Everybody has the balance of masculinity and femininity, but it's just two different essences. And then you just have to be able to, I guess, um tap into both those energies. But
Mhm.
when you're sitting here and you only want to tap into only one energy because that you're limiting yourself because of what society thinks, then you're actually further away from that, further away from masculinity than you actually think. And then you can't tell me you're masculine and then you have no respect for women on top of that. So it's just
Mhm.
That's a bar in itself.
It is.
Mhm.
Yeah, honestly, I think the world would change with more people thinking like this.
Embrace they need embracing yourselves, but also embracing the duality of being a human.
Yeah.
It's not even duality, more so like nuance, because everything is not black or white. And that's the biggest thing that I got from what you said, Orlando.
Mhm.
And
Yeah. So, and when you start thinking like that, you start thinking of everything on an equal plane. So you don't think like, femininity is any less than masculinity. So now you start thinking differently of women, and you start putting women on the equal pedestal. Now you don't start thinking pussy's too high, that is not attainable, or you got to do all these crazy things. Pussy's on an equal level as you. So
Yeah.
now you feel the strength within yourself, and you move differently around women. You don't. A lot of men don't do corny shit or to be impressive, because they're not viewing things on a hierarchy anymore. Everything is equal, and everything is balanced. And so, when you start viewing that type of way, you start feeling yourself in a more positive ego, so where your ego is damaging to like everybody else. So now what happens? Everybody's more comfortable around you. And so now the one thing that we actually like and enjoy, which is sex with women, it starts being more attainable. It starts being easy to come across. Why? So everybody's more comfortable around you. And I told somebody this the other day. It's like, how can you feel masculine when you can't make everybody else that's not in the same space as you comfortable? Like, if that's not challenging. You know how challenging it is to be to to be the person that women, gay, queer, lesbian, trans, like all these people feel comfortable around you. You know how challenging it is within yourself to become that type of person in today's society. Like, that's how you overcome. It's not easy, but I'm a man. And I'm
Right.
strong enough to do it.
Yeah.
And that's masculinity.